Stop! The old man's scream tore through the wedding hall like a gunshot. 317 guests turned at once. Pa Yusuf stood at the end of the aisle in a faded brown kaftan, one hand trembling, the other clutching a black notebook against his chest. "Remove that filthy beggar!" Ronke shouted, "before he stains this wedding with his roadside madness." 2 guards seized him. The notebook fell. Pages scattered across the spotless white carpet. Chief Niyi rushed forward, his face blazing with rage. "This man is a criminal. Drag him outside." But Pa Yusuf looked straight at the billionaire groom. "Dare," he said, his broken voice filling the hall. "Will you marry today while 43 stolen homes are buried beneath your celebration?" Silence. A champagne glass slipped from someone's hand and shattered. Dare stared at the small brass key hanging from the old man's neck. His face changed. He left the altar, walked past his bride, then knelt before the beggar. "Baba Yusuf." Nobody breathed. Before you discover why a billionaire humbled himself before the man everyone mocked, subscribe now. Comment your city and local time below, and do not leave this story halfway. Because the truth inside that notebook was about to destroy everything. 3 days earlier, Sade Williams stood before a wall-sized map and knew something was wrong. The planning room on the 21st floor of Williams Community Foundation looked more like a luxury hotel lounge than an office. Glass walls, soft cream chairs, imported coffee in white porcelain cups. Through the windows, Victoria Island glittered beneath the morning sun. On the map, Iwaya East waterfront had been colored pale blue. A neat title sat above it: Harbour Haven Residences, luxury waterfront apartments, retail spaces, a private medical center. A small section marked affordable housing cluster. Everything looked clean. Too clean. Sade leaned closer. "Uncle," she said, "where are the other households?" Chief Niyi Balagan did not look up from his phone. He wore an emerald agbada with gold embroidery, though it was only Tuesday morning. Niyi believed ordinary clothing invited ordinary treatment. "What other households?" he asked. "The settlement register lists 26 families." Sade pointed at the map, but the electricity service report shows 43 active meters in that same zone. Ronke Balagun sat near the window, scrolling through wedding decoration samples on her tablet. She raised one eyebrow. "Those people connect wires anyhow," she said. "You cannot count illegal electricity as human beings." Sade turned to her. "Every meter has a registered name." Ronke sighed as though the conversation had ruined her morning. "My dear cousin, this is why architects should face drawings and leave legal matters for serious people." Sade ignored her. She was 31, a licensed architect. She had spent 7 years working on low-cost housing projects across West Africa. She knew the difference between a line on a map and a life pushed outside that line. Chief Niyi finally placed his phone down. "Sade, the additional structures are illegal extensions," he said. "Temporary shacks, fish smokers, mechanics, people who came after the survey date." "Which survey date? January 17th. Of this year?" "Yes." Sade opened the folder before her. "The satellite image attached to this report is from last September." For 1 second, nobody spoke. Then Ronke laughed. Not because anything was funny. Because laughter was how she punished people who noticed too much. "See this woman," she said. "Your wedding is in 6 weeks. A normal bride would be choosing perfume and jewelry. You are squeezing your face over fishermen who built zinc houses inside floodwater." Sade's jaw tightened. "They are people, and we are relocating them. Then, why are 17 names missing?" Chief Niyi rose slowly. He was 59, broad in the shoulders, grey at the temples and careful with his anger. He never shouted first. He preferred to make the room feel smaller until everyone adjusted themselves around him. "My daughter," he said. "After your parents died, who protected you?" Sade did not answer. "Who paid your university fees when the estate was tied up in court?" "You did." "Who gave you your first office?" "You did." "Who carried you on his head when the whole family was confused?" "You did, uncle." Nee smiled. "Good. Then trust me when I tell you this project is clean." Sade looked at the map again. Trust. That word had followed her for 12 years. It always arrived whenever a document was missing. The door opened. Dare Adebayo walked in with his chief investment officer and 2 legal advisors. He wore a cobalt suit, white shirt, no tie. Calm face, quiet steps. The kind of man who did not need people to announce his arrival, because the room changed before anyone said his name. At 38, Dare had built Adebayo Cold Chain into one of West Africa's largest temperature-controlled logistics companies. His trucks carried vaccines, frozen food, insulin, and laboratory materials across 6 countries. He had not inherited the company. He had built it from borrowed tools and 2 broken refrigeration vans. Sade's face softened when she saw him. Dare noticed. He always did. "Hope no problem?" he asked. Ronki clapped her hands once. "Finally, the groom has come to rescue us from another housing lecture." Dare glanced at Sade. "That sounds like a problem." Chief Nee stepped forward and embraced him. "My son, welcome. We were only discussing minor survey adjustments." Dare's eyes moved to the map. His company had been invited to invest 4 billion naira in the logistics and retail section of Harbor Haven. He had not signed. His team was still conducting due diligence. Sade tapped the missing area with one finger. 17 households are not in the compensation register. Dare did not dismiss her. He did not accuse anyone either. He simply turned to his legal advisor. "Add it to the verification list." Ronki leaned back. "Dare, please. If we investigate every woman selling pepper beside a lagoon, the project will never start." Dare looked at her. "Then it should not start." The words were quiet. They landed heavily. Chief Nee smiled again, but this time the smile did not reach his eyes. "Of course," he said. "We all want proper procedure." The meeting continued. Yet, Sade kept looking at the 17 empty spaces on the register. They felt less like missing names, more like graves waiting to be dug. 4 hours later, Pa Yusuf Bello sat on a low concrete wall outside the foundation building. The Lagos heat pressed down on him like a hand. His kaftan had once been golden brown. Now it had faded into the color of old dust. One sandal had been stitched twice with fishing line. A small brass key hung from a cord around his neck. In his lap rested a black notebook wrapped in transparent nylon. He had arrived at 9:23 that morning. It was now 1:47. Every time he approached the glass entrance, a security guard waved him back. "You cannot sit here," one guard said. "I am waiting for Miss Sade Williams." "Do you have appointment?" "No." "Then move." "I only need 5 minutes." The guard looked at his clothes. "You people think because air conditioning is inside, this place is public shelter. Baba, carry yourself." Yusuf lowered his eyes. He was used to insult. That did not mean it no longer entered his body. Words entered. They simply stopped showing blood. At 2:02, Ronki stepped out with her assistant and a photographer. She wore a ruby-red dress and dark glasses. The photographer was discussing a pre-wedding campaign. Ronki stopped when she saw Yusuf. "Why is this man still here?" The guard straightened. "Ma, we have asked him to leave." Ronke turned to Yusuf. "What do you want?" "I want to speak with Miss Sade." "About what?" "Iwaya East." Her face changed for only a second. Then the disgust returned. "Who sent you?" "The families sent me." "Which families?" The 43 families whose names are inside this book. He raised the black notebook. Ronki stepped back as if he had lifted a dead rat. Do not bring that dirty thing near me. It contains signatures. It contains germs. The assistant laughed. Yusuf's hand trembled, not from fear, from the weakness left by a stroke 18 months earlier. Ronka noticed and smiled. Look at you. You can barely hold paper, yet you want to challenge a billion-naira development. I am not challenging development. What are you challenging? A lie. The photographer stopped smiling. Ronka removed her glasses. Her eyes were sharp. This building is for people with appointments, not men who carry the roadside on their clothes. If you return, security will hand you to the police. Madam, I only need. Do not madam me. She turned to the guard. Remove him. The guard grabbed Yusuf's upper arm. Pain flashed across his face. Easy, Yusuf said. My left side is not strong. Then use your strong side to leave. The guard pulled him from the wall. The notebook slipped. 3 folded pages fell out. A heel stopped beside them. Sade had come through the glass doors. She looked first at the papers, then at the guard's hand on Yusuf. Release him. The guard froze. Ma, I said release him. Ronki folded her arms. Sade, this man is harassing staff. Yusuf rubbed his arm. I have not entered the building. He is one of those settlement agitators, Ronki said. They hear compensation, and suddenly every go-to becomes a landlord. Sade picked up the papers. The first page showed 43 names. Beside each name sat a thumbprint, signature, or handwritten mark. The second page was a photocopy of a compensation certificate. Beneficiary, Yusuf Bello. Amount paid, minor 18,700,000. Payment status, completed. Sade looked at him. Did you receive this money? Yusuf gave a tired laugh. My daughter, if 18 million naira entered my account, would I be wearing a sandal repaired with fishing line? Ronka hissed. You see, he came to beg. No, Yusuf said. I came because somebody used my name to collect what never reached my hand. Sade studied the document. The approval signature at the bottom looked like hers. She felt the air leave her chest. When was this signed? March 4th. Sade remembered March 4th. She had been in Kigali, speaking at the East African Housing Forum. Ronka reached for the document. Give me that. Sade pulled it back. Why? It belongs to the foundation. It belongs to the person whose name is on it. Ronka's mouth tightened. Chief Nee's driver brought the car around. Ronka glanced toward it. We are late. She put on her glasses. Sade, do not allow one roadside performer to poison your head before your wedding. Then she walked away. Sade remained. She asked a staff member to bring water. Yusuf drank slowly. His fingers shook against the plastic bottle. What is inside the notebook? She asked. Meeting dates, names, copies of meter numbers, photographs of houses. The amount each family was told they had received. Who compiled it? I did. With 2 community representatives. Why you? Because I can read forms. Some cannot. Sade sat beside him on the wall. People entering the building stared. She did not move. Pa Yusuf, I cannot promise you anything today. I am not asking for promise. What are you asking for? That you look. He tapped the paper in her hand. Poor people do not always lose because they are wrong. Sometimes they lose because nobody with clean clothes is willing to read what happened to them. The sentence stayed between them. Sade folded the 3 pages carefully. Can I keep these copies? Yes. And how can I reach you? Yusuf hesitated. I do not have a phone now. Where do you stay? Where space allows. Sade looked at him properly then. Not at the dust on his sleeve. At the man inside it. He had deep lines around his mouth. A scar crossed his right eyebrow. His eyes were tired, but they were not empty. She wrote her private office number on the back of a card. Call this line. Ask for me directly. He accepted it. Then his eyes moved to the engagement ring on her hand. "You are marrying Mr. Dare Adebayo?" In 6 weeks, Yusuf became still. "Dare Adebayo of Cold Chain?" "Yes." His thumb touched the small brass key at his chest. "Hope no problem?" Sade asked. Yusuf looked toward the road. "Problem has been walking for a long time," he said. "Maybe it has finally reached the right door." That evening, Sade sat alone in her apartment and opened the Harbor Haven files. She compared parcel numbers. Plot 8B appeared under 2 ownership chains. One belonged to Williams Development Consortium. The other belonged to a cooperative registered by 23 waterfront residents. 9 years earlier. She checked the survey coordinates. They overlapped. She checked the compensation register. Yusuf's name was marked paid. So were 16 others missing from the official household count. At 9:31, Dare called. "You have not replied to my message," he said. "I am working." "On wedding vows, no," he heard her tone. "What happened?" Sade looked at the documents spread across her dining table. "A man came to the office today." "What man?" "An elderly man from Iwaya East. He says 43 households were listed as paid, but many received nothing." Dare was silent. "Do you believe him?" he asked. "I believe the papers deserve checking." "That is not the same thing. No, send copies to me." Sade leaned back. "You will investigate?" "My company is being asked to invest. We are already investigating." "He says my signature is on one of the approvals." This time the silence was longer. "Did you sign it?" "I was in Rwanda on the date." Dare's voice changed, not louder, harder. "Send everything now." She scanned the 3 pages. At 10:16, Dare's legal team acknowledged receipt. At 11:48, Sade tried to enter the Foundation's secure property archive. Access den. She tried again. The system rejected her password. At midnight, her phone rang from an unfamiliar number. "Hello?" "My daughter, it is Yusuf." His breathing was uneven. "Pa Yusuf, where are you?" "At a mechanic yard near Onike. I borrowed this phone." "What happened?" "They came to the waterfront tonight." "Who?" "Men from the project. They were measuring doors and marking houses with red paint." Sade stood up. "The demolition date is not for another month." "That is not all." His voice dropped. "They are not only stealing land, they are preparing to make you sign the lie." The line went dead. Sade stared at her locked computer screen. In the black reflection, she saw her own face, and behind it, the faint outline of 43 names waiting to be erased. By 7 the next morning, Sade was inside Chief Niyi's private conference room. She had not slept. The compensation certificate lay between them. Chief Niyi sat at the head of the table, reading it with the bored patience of a man examining a restaurant bill he did not intend to pay. Ronki stood by the window in a bright green suit, her arms folded. "You disabled my access," Sade said. Niyi placed the paper down. "The archive was undergoing maintenance. Only my account?" "You are becoming dramatic. My electronic signature is on a payment approval dated March 4th. So? I was in Kigali. You approved the compensation framework before traveling. I approved a framework for verified occupants. I did not sign this certificate." Rong made a small sound with her tongue. "Electronic signatures are not blood oaths. Your office processed documents on your behalf." "Which office?" "Legal." "Who authorized them?" Chief Niyi leaned back. "Sade, do you know how many documents move through this foundation every month?" "No, because you locked me out." His eyes sharpened. "I did not raise you to speak to me with disrespect. And my parents did not leave me a foundation so somebody could use my name to certify payments that never happened." The room became cold. Ronki pushed herself from the window. "Be careful," she said. Sade turned to her. "Is that advice or threat?" "Common sense." Chief Niyi raised one hand. Enough. He stood and walked to a framed photograph on the wall. Sade's mother and father smiled from it, both wearing white at the foundation's first clinic opening. When my sister died, he said, this organization was bleeding money. Creditors were circling. Staff had not been paid for 4 months. You were 19 and could not read a balance sheet. I learned because I created room for you to learn, and I am using what I learned now. He turned. You are allowing one dirty old man to rewrite 12 years of loyalty. This is not about his clothes. It is exactly about his clothes. If he entered wearing a suit, you would ask who sent him. Because he came looking helpless, you have decided he must be honest. Sade held his gaze. No. I decided a document with my false signature must be investigated. Chief Niyi returned to the table. He slid the certificate toward her. Leave this matter. I will not. Your wedding is 42 days away. I know. Then behave like a woman who understands what is at stake. Sade picked up the paper. What is at stake, uncle? For the first time, Ni's calm mask shifted, only slightly. But she saw it. Everything, he said. Sade left the room with her heartbeat beating in her ears. At 10:14, she received an email from Human Resources. Her role as executive director of the foundation had been placed under temporary administrative review. The reason given was conflict of interest arising from an impending marriage to a potential project investor. She read it twice. Then she laughed. A short, dry laugh. The conflict had existed for 11 months. It became a problem only after she asked where the money went. At noon, Dare arrived at her architectural studio in Ikoyi. He came without assistance. Sade was standing over a table, marking dates on a sheet of paper. He closed the door behind him. Your uncle called me, he said. I expected him to. He said you are exhausted and reacting emotionally. Do I look emotional? You look like you want to use that metal ruler as a weapon. She looked at the ruler in her hand and placed it down. Dare removed his jacket. Our due diligence team found something. Sade waited. The compensation register has 43 payment references. So Yusuf was right. Maybe the references exist. That does not mean the beneficiaries received the money. Can you trace them? We need bank confirmation and lawful access to the source accounts. How long? Days, if the foundation cooperates. Weeks, if it does not. They will not. Dare studied her face. You are sure? My access was removed this morning. He exhaled slowly. Stid. What? I am suspending our investment review. She blinked. Completely. Until the household count and payments are independently verified. Relief rose in her chest. Then he added, but we must not accuse Niyi publicly yet. The relief stopped. He used my signature. Someone used it. You think I am wrong? I think a false document can pass through several hands. My uncle controls every senior appointment in that foundation. That is suspicious. It is not proof he ordered the fraud. Sade turned away. Dare came closer. I am not refusing to stand with you. It feels like it. No. I am refusing to build a criminal allegation from anger. She faced him again. And while we wait, what happens to those people? We protect them with evidence that can survive more than one news cycle. His voice was gentle, firm. If we rush, Niyi will say a confused bride and a homeless man invented everything. If we are correct, we must be correct in a way he cannot bury. Sade hated that the words made sense. She hated even more that sense did not make waiting easier. Dare touched her hand. Where is Yusuf? I do not know. Find him. I am trying. I will put people on it. No security men. Why? He has spent enough time being chased by uniforms. Dare nodded. Then a community liaison officer. Sade looked at him. Thank you. He squeezed her fingers. Do not thank me yet. Why? Because stopping 4 billion naira from moving will make many people very interested in our wedding." He was right. The first call came that afternoon, then another, then 6 more. Bankers asked whether Dare had lost confidence in Harbour Haven. Journalists asked whether Sade was fighting her uncle over inheritance. A wedding blog claimed the couple had postponed their honeymoon because of financial tension between both families. Ronke denied everything with polished smiles. Then she began preparing a lie. 3 days later, Pa Yusuf received a message at the Onike mechanic yard where he sometimes slept. A young man said someone from Williams Development wanted to discuss his compensation. The meeting would take place at a roadside restaurant in Yaba. Yusuf almost refused, but the young man mentioned the exact amount on his certificate. Blair 18, 7 million. At 3:12 that afternoon, Yusuf entered the restaurant. A ceiling fan rotated lazily above plastic tables. Football commentary played from a small television near the counter. Ronke's assistant sat at the back, with a man Yusuf had never seen. A phone lay face down beside a bottle of malt. The phone was recording. "Baba, sit," the assistant said. "I am fine. Sit. Nobody wants trouble." Yusuf lowered himself into the chair. The unknown man smiled. "We understand you are unhappy. 43 families are unhappy. We are talking about you. I am talking about them." The man pushed an envelope across the table. Yusuf did not touch it. "What is that?" "Transport and inconvenience." "I did not come for transport." "Fine. Tell us what will make you stop disturbing Miss Sade." Yusuf leaned forward. "I do not want your private money. Pay every family what the document says." "How much does your own document say?" 18,700,000. "So that is what you want. That is what your paper claims I received. If it enters your account today, will you stop?" "No." The assistant frowned. "Baba, do not be greedy." Yusuf's eyes hardened. A man asking for other people's stolen money to be returned is not greedy. He pushed the envelope back. "Keep it." Then he stood and left. By 7 that evening, a 43-second video was circulating online. It began with the unknown man asking, "How much do you want?" Then Yusuf's voice answered, 18,700,000. The rest had been removed. The caption read, "Old Beggar demands, piece 18. 7M to stop harassing bride-to-be." Ronke shared it through 3 anonymous entertainment pages. Within 2 hours, Yusuf's face was everywhere. People called him a scammer, a blackmailer, an old criminal looking for wedding money. Someone enlarged a photograph of his repaired sandal and wrote, "When poverty develops ambition." Another person wrote, "Give him bread and let him rest." The internet laughed. At the mechanic yard, the owner watched the video twice. Then he looked at Yusuf. "Baba, I do not want police here. The video was cut. I do not know anything about video. Carry your bag. I have nowhere to go tonight." "You should have thought of that before fighting rich people." Yusuf gathered his small nylon bag. Nobody helped him. Rain began at 9:26. He slept beneath the concrete awning of a closed pharmacy, while water blew across the pavement and soaked the bottom of his kaftan. By morning, his left foot was swollen. At 8:14, Sade arrived at Ronke's office without knocking. Ronke was recording a wedding invitation video in front of a flower wall. Sade walked into the frame. "Stop the camera." Ronke's media assistant lowered it. Ronke forced a smile. "What is this?" "You recorded, Yusuf. I did no such thing. Your assistant was at the restaurant. He meets many people." Sade placed her phone on the table and played the clip. "You cut his answer." Ronke shrugged. "He said the amount." "What did he say before it?" "I was not there." "What did he say after it?" "I was not there." "Then release the original recording." "There is no original recording with me." Sade leaned closer. "You are destroying an old man's name because he asked where compensation went." Ronki's smile disappeared. An old man's name, she said. What name? A person sleeping under shop canopies is now protecting reputation? Sade stared at her. Ronka continued. You think dignity pays bills? That man understands what he is doing. He saw our family. He saw your wedding. He smelled money. He refused the envelope. You cannot prove that. Release the full video. Leave my office. Sade picked up her phone. I will find it. Ronki laughed again. You are ready to fight your family for a beggar? No, Sade said. I am ready to fight a lie. The fact that you keep placing yourself beside it is your choice. She walked out. By noon, Chief Nii had filed a police complaint accusing Yusuf of attempted extortion, criminal intimidation, and trespass. The complaint referred to the edited video. At 4:37, 2 officers found Yusuf near a public tap in Surulere. He did not resist. He asked only whether he could take his notebook. One officer pushed it into a plastic evidence bag. You can explain at the station, he said. Yusuf spent the night on a wooden bench beneath a flickering bulb. His swollen foot throbbed. A mosquito whined beside his ear. At one point, a younger detainee asked him what he had stolen. My own name, Yusuf replied. The young man frowned. How can somebody steal his own name? Yusuf looked at the wall. When powerful people write that they paid you money you never saw, your name becomes the hand they use to steal. The young man said nothing after that. Sade learned about the arrest at 6:45 the next morning. By 8, she was at the station with a lawyer named Mrs. George, a careful woman who wore round glasses and spoke only after reading every page placed before her. Chief Nii's complaint contained no witness statement from the restaurant, no original video, no demand letter, only the edited clip and an allegation that Yusuf had threatened to disrupt the wedding. Mrs. George requested bail. The officer in charge resisted until she asked him to state the legal basis for continued detention in writing. At 11:18, Yusuf walked out. He was limping badly. Sade moved toward him. He lifted one hand. My daughter, do not kneel or cry. I was not going to kneel. You have that face. Despite herself. She smiled. Then she saw the dark patch spreading around his ankle. You need a hospital. I need my notebook. Mrs. George spoke to the officer. The notebook was returned after its pages were counted. Yusuf opened it immediately. His eyes moved from one page to another. One page is missing, he said. The officer looked offended. Are you accusing the police? I am counting. Maybe you lost it. The page had 3 company names. Sade stepped closer. What company names? Yusuf pressed his lips together. Then he looked around the station. Not here. They took him to a small private clinic. The doctor diagnosed a skin infection aggravated by poor circulation and exposure to rain. It was treatable, but he needed antibiotics, wound care, and a dry place to sleep. Sade paid the bill. Yusuf watched her sign the receipt. I will repay you, he said. You will not. I do not like debt. This is treatment. Treatment still costs money. Sade sat beside the bed. Then repay me by getting well enough to finish this matter. Yusuf studied her for a moment. That is a dangerous repayment plan. So is stealing 43 people's compensation. He gave a faint smile. Then he told her the names from the missing page. Marula Urban Services Limited, Noble Tide Consulting, Green Axis Relocation Partners. Sade wrote them down. She sent the names to Dare. His reply came 9 minutes later. 2 of the companies shared the same registered address. The third address was a locked shop in Ikeja. That afternoon, a woman named Uzo Okoro called Sade's studio. I heard you are asking questions about Harbor Haven, she said. Who are you? Somebody Chief Nii fired for asking the same questions. Can we meet? Not at your office. Where? A public place. No driver, no family staff. They met at a quiet bookshop cafe in Yaba at 5:10. Uzo was 32, dressed in a simple sky blue blouse and dark trousers. She carried no handbag, only a brown envelope pressed against her ribs. She chose a table facing the entrance. "I worked as compliance accountant for the foundation," she said. "For how long?" 4 years and 8 months. "Why were you dismissed?" "Officially, for losing financial data, and unofficially, for finding it." She opened the envelope. Inside were transaction reference numbers, board minutes, and printed email headers. Uzo pointed to the first sheet. Negyo 1. 873 billion left the community compensation account in 11 transfers over 17 days. To those 3 companies? Yes. What services did they provide? Household relocation, legal verification, and temporary accommodation. Did they? I could not find staff payroll, vehicle records, tenancy payments, or hotel invoices matching the amounts. Who approved the transfers? The system shows layered approvals. Whose names? Yours, Chief Knees, 2 finance officers. I did not approve them. I know. Sade looked up sharply. How? On March 4th, the approval linked to your credentials came from an office device in Lagos at 11:42 in the morning. I was presenting in Kigali at that time. Uzo nodded. I checked the conference live stream after they accused me of mishandling records. You were on stage. Sade felt cold. Who had access to the device? Your executive assistant. Information technology. Senior administration. Can you prove who used it? Not from the printout. The full access log may show login token, internal address, and administrator override. Where is the full log? In the foundation server. My access has been removed. I expected that. Sade touched the transfer sheet. Do these records prove my uncle stole the money? No. The answer came quickly, honest. They prove money moved through suspicious vendors, and your approval may have been forged. They do not yet prove where the money ended or who ordered the forgery. Sade appreciated the distinction. Truth was not made stronger by pretending it was complete. Why did you keep these? She asked. Because when they fired me, they accused me of deleting records I had reported. I needed evidence that I was not mad. Why come forward now? Uzo looked through the cafe window. My father spent 26 years as a civil servant. When he retired, 1 wrong digit in a file delayed his pension for 19 months. People laughed and told him to be patient. He sold his car, then his tools, then my mother's jewelry. She turned back. A document can destroy a person without raising its voice. I know what that looks like. Sade closed the envelope. Will you testify? Uzo inhaled slowly. If there is independent protection for the records, there will be. Do not promise what you do not control. Sade met her eyes. Then help me build something I can control. For the first time, Uzo smiled. It was small, but it was there. The next 9 days changed the shape of Sade's life, not loudly. At first, the changes came as locked doors. Her name disappeared from internal meeting invitations. Staff who once entered her office without knocking began avoiding eye contact. A project manager who had called her Ma every morning suddenly claimed he was too busy to answer questions. Then the changes became threats wrapped in concern. Chief Nii invited her to lunch at a private club on Queen's Drive. He ordered grilled fish for her without asking. You are losing weight, he said. I am fine. You are not fine. You are following strangers around Lagos and paying lawyers to embarrass your family. I paid a lawyer to release a man detained on a complaint that had no full evidence. He threatened our reputation. Reputation is not a person. Nii placed his fork down. You speak like that because you have never built anything large enough to lose. Sade looked around the club. The room smelled of polished wood and old money. Men in white kaftans spoke softly over expensive meals. Nobody seemed to know that 43 families had been reduced to an accounting line. "My parents built the foundation," she said, "and I saved it. You keep reminding me. Because you keep forgetting." He leaned toward her. 27 employees depend on that organization. Drivers, cleaners, nurses, field officers. If your reckless allegations freeze our accounts, salaries stop, families suffer. Is that the justice you want? Sade's fingers tightened around her glass. It was clever. He had taken his choices and placed them on the shoulders of workers. "You are threatening to punish staff for questions I asked." "I am explaining consequences." "No, you are using innocent people as a shield." Chief Nee's face went still. "You think Dare will marry a woman who drags scandal into his company?" "This is not about my wedding. Everything is about your wedding now." He smiled without warmth. "Banks are watching. Investors are watching. His board is watching. A man may love a woman, but no billionaire loves confusion more than control." Sade stood. "I will not abandon 43 families to prove I am convenient." Chief Nee did not look up as she left. "Then do not complain when inconvenience chooses you too," he said. That evening, 3 of Sade's design clients cancelled consultations. One claimed budget concerns. Another said the company was reviewing reputational exposure. The third did not bother giving a reason. Ronke's hand was visible in every silence. Dare called after 10. "I heard about the clients," he said. "I am managing. You do not have to manage alone. I do not want your company replacing their contracts. I did not offer that. You were about to. I was about to ask what you need." Sade sat on the edge of her bed. She closed her eyes. "I need one person in this family to stop treating me like a project." Dare was quiet. Then he said, "Done." The simplicity broke something inside her. She pressed her palm against her forehead. "I am sorry. You are tired. That does not make every word fair." "No." He waited. Then he added, "Our auditors confirmed the 3 vendors do not have the capacity claimed in their invoices." Sade sat upright. "How?" Green Axis reported providing temporary accommodation for 112 people. "We found no hotel payments, leases, or subcontracts." Noble Tide billed for legal verification across 43 households. "The company has no practicing lawyer listed. Marula Urban Services shares a director with a firm that owes your uncle money. Is that enough? Enough to stop our investment. Not enough yet to prove criminal direction." "Why are you still saying yet?" "Because precision matters. People are already sleeping outside, and if we make a claim that collapses, they will sleep outside permanently." She breathed slowly. "Uzo says the server has the full access log. We cannot touch it without authority. Can we seek a preservation order?" "Yes. Mrs. George has started preparing an application." For the first time in days, Sade felt the ground beneath her feet. Not safe, but solid enough for one step. The preservation application was filed under seal 2 mornings later. It asked the court to order the foundation and its technology provider not to delete, alter, or migrate access logs related to the compensation account. The request was narrow, specific. It did not accuse Nee of theft. It protected evidence while the dispute was examined. Mrs. George explained every paragraph to Yusuf in a small legal aid office near Yaba. "The court is not declaring anybody guilty," she said. "We are only asking that records remain intact." Yusuf nodded. "That is good. You understand why. A preserved lie can still be examined. A destroyed lie becomes everybody's argument." Mrs. George looked at Sade. "He understands perfectly. Yusuf's foot was improving, but he still walked with a wooden stick borrowed from the clinic. He had moved into a church-run shelter with 12 beds and a strict 10 o'clock curfew. He did not complain. He kept his notebook beneath his pillow. On the 10th day, Sade visited him with a bag of food. He frowned. I did not ask for all this. It is rice and stew, not a mansion. Today, rice. Tomorrow, mansion. Pa Yusuf, please. He accepted the bag. Then he pushed half toward another resident seated by the window. You people think hunger respects ownership, he said. Sade smiled. The shelter manager approached them. There is a problem, she said. What happened? An inspector came this afternoon. They said the building's fire certification has expired. When must you close? 48 hours. Yusuf looked at Sade. Do not start making phone calls. Why? Because every time you solve one thing for me, your family uses it to say, I am collecting benefits. This affects 12 people. That is different. So, I can help 12 people but not one. He considered the question. Then he nodded toward the manager. Help the building pass inspection. Do not buy me a room alone. That answer stayed with Sade. Even in need, Yusuf refused the kind of help that turned him into a private charity case, while everyone beside him remained invisible. She contacted a fire safety engineer she trusted. The inspection report showed blocked exits, expired extinguishers, and damaged wiring. Her studio paid for emergency repairs through a documented community support grant. Not cash handed to one person. The building reopened after 6 days. Yusuf returned to the same bed. Ronk still found a way to twist it. An anonymous blog claimed Sade was using Foundation enemies to stage poverty content before her wedding. This time, the post included a photograph of Sade entering the shelter. Someone had followed her. Dare's security team traced the photographer to a media contractor working for Ronke. When Dare confronted Ronke during a family dinner, she did not deny hiring him. I am protecting the wedding, she said. By stalking my fiancée, by knowing what she is doing before strangers post it. You posted it, you cannot prove that. Dare leaned forward. You are becoming careless. Ronke's father looked between them. My son, emotions are high. Let us not turn family misunderstanding into war. Dare's expression remained calm. The moment somebody follows Sade without her consent, it stops being misunderstanding. Nii lifted both hands. I will speak to Ronke. No, Dare said. I am speaking to her. Ronke stared at him. Dare continued. You will stop recording Yusuf. You will stop sending photographers after Sade. And you will preserve every original file connected to the restaurant video. What if I do not have it? Then state that in writing. Ronke laughed. Is this marriage or court case? Dare did not smile. Right now, your behavior is making it both. After dinner, Sade and Dare sat in his car outside the Balagan residence. Neither spoke for several minutes. Rain tapped against the windscreen. Sade watched water run down the glass. Do you regret this? She asked. What? Dare turned toward her. No, you answered too quickly. Because the answer is not complicated. My family is threatening staff, manipulating videos, and attaching your name to a disputed project. You are not your family. They raised me. They did not manufacture every decision you make. Sade looked at her ring. What if this gets worse? It will. She looked up, he continued. People do not create false documents because they are comfortable. They create them because something is failing. You think Harbor Haven is failing? I think somebody needs my investment badly enough to risk using my name before I sign. The honesty frightened her. It also steadied her. Dare took her hand. We do not cancel our life because your uncle may have committed a crime. And if he did, then he answers for it. What if he says I destroyed him? Dare's thumb moved across her knuckles. Truth does not destroy clean hands. The court granted the preservation order 4 days later. By then, the Foundation had received notice that its server logs, email archives, and financial records related to Harbor Haven must not be altered. Chief Niyi called an emergency board meeting. Sade was not invited. At the meeting, he announced that she was being placed on indefinite leave due to emotional instability and conflict of interest. 2 board members objected. Niyi reminded them that the foundation's annual medical outreach budget depended on a bridge facility personally guaranteed by him. The objections stopped. By evening, a press statement had been released. It described Sade as a beloved family member, taking time away to focus on her forthcoming marriage. Sade read it on her phone. Nobody had asked her. Nobody had even called. She went to the foundation building the next morning to collect personal files. Her access card failed at the entrance. The same guard who had dragged Yusuf stood behind the glass. He looked embarrassed. "Ma, I am sorry. Instruction from above." Sade held his gaze. "What would you do if I were wearing torn clothes?" The man looked down. "Ma, would you drag me away?" "No, Ma." "Why not?" He had no answer. Sade stepped back from the door. "Next time somebody comes here with a complaint, do not decide whether they deserve to be heard by looking at their shoes." The guard swallowed. "Yes, Ma." She left without collecting anything. That afternoon, Mrs. George received a call from the legal aid office. Its back window had been forced open during the night. 2 cabinets were broken. Cash had not been taken. Computers had not been taken. Only one folder was missing: Yusuf's original black notebook. When Sade arrived, papers covered the floor. Yusuf stood in the middle of the room, gripping his walking stick so tightly his knuckles had turned pale. "I should not have brought it here," he said. "You brought it because this was supposed to be safe." "I knew they were watching." Mrs. George examined the broken cabinet. "The notebook was listed in our evidence inventory. We will report the theft." Yusuf lowered his head. "It had the original household signatures." "Do copies exist?" Sade asked. "Photographs. Some photocopies. Anything else?" He did not reply. "Pa Yusuf." Yusuf looked toward the open window. 2 weeks ago, before police arrested me, I left another copy with Reverend Peter at the old chapel near Iwaya. Sade blinked. "A complete copy." "Not every photograph. But names, meter numbers, the 3 company names and my notes." Mrs. George straightened. "Why did you not tell us?" "Because the fewer mouths carrying a secret, the longer it remains a secret." For the first time since entering the room, Sade breathed freely. The notebook was gone. The truth was not. Across Lagos, Chief Niyi sat in the back of his car and received a message from Ronke. "The book is out." He read it once, then deleted it. "Drive to the bank," he told his driver. "What branch, sir?" "The headquarters." For the first time in many years, Niyi's voice carried fear. The bank meeting did not save Chief Niyi. It only showed him how close the ground was to opening beneath his feet. Harbor Haven had been financed through a construction facility tied to 3 conditions: verified land control, completed community compensation, confirmed anchor investment. The first 2 were now disputed. The third was supposed to be Dare. Without Adebayo cold chain, the lender could suspend further disbursement and demand additional security. Niyi had already pledged 2 commercial buildings. He could not pledge them twice. Yet he tried. The bank's risk director sat across from him in a grey office and read the new documents without expression. "We understand Mr. Adebayo has paused investment review," she said. Temporary noise. "His legal team sent formal notice yesterday. My niece is upset. Marriage pressure, family misunderstanding. The notice came from his company, not your niece." Niyi smiled. "The wedding is in 25 days. Once the families appear together, confidence will return." The risk director closed the folder. "Confidence is not a legal condition, Chief Balagun. You will have the public commitment. We require executed documents. You will have them." He stood before she dismissed him. Outside, his driver opened the door. Niyi entered the car and called Ronka. "We proceed with the Harbor Haven announcement at the wedding," he said. "Dare has not agreed. He will not embarrass Sade before 300 guests. What if she refuses? Then she will learn that affection does not cancel debt." Ronke was silent. "Prepare a community commitment statement," Niyi continued. "Nothing that looks like a contract. Something suitable for the press. You want him to read it after the vows? Yes, and the old man? The book is gone. He may have copies." Niyi looked through the car window. Lagos moved around him in horns, buses, heat and bodies, people selling water, people carrying goods, people crossing roads as though survival were a daily negotiation. "He will not enter that wedding," Niyi said. At the same time, Sade and Yusuf were traveling toward the old chapel near Iwaya. Mrs. George drove. Uzo sat in front with a laptop bag between her feet. The road narrowed as they approached the waterfront. Concrete buildings gave way to zinc roofs, timber walkways and small workshops pressed close together. The air smelled of salt, engine oil and smoked fish. Red paint had been sprayed on several doors. X. Demolition. Clearance zone. Children were not part of the active conversation, but families moved quietly around them, packing clothes and cooking pots into sacks. Adults argued over receipts. An elderly woman sat beside a broken wardrobe, staring at nothing. Yusuf's face tightened. "This used to be my workshop," he said. He pointed toward a fenced patch of ground covered in weeds. Only one concrete pillar remained. Sade looked at him. "You owned it? I rented first. Later, the cooperative purchased the strip together. What happened?" "Fire damaged the back section. Then the first clearance came. They said road expansion. Compensation was promised. Court matter started. Customers stopped coming because police sealed the area twice." He touched the brass key around his neck. The room behind the workshop survived the fire. For some years. "What did the key open?" Sade asked. Yusuf did not answer immediately. "A small store," he said. "Long ago." The chapel stood between two larger buildings, painted pale yellow and blue. Its roof leaned slightly to one side. Reverend Peter was not there. His wife brought out a sealed brown package from a locked trunk. "He said Pa Yusuf would know when to collect it," she said. The package contained photocopied register pages, handwritten dates, meter numbers and photographs of each marked structure. Uzo opened her laptop. They began checking the names against the official register. 43 households. 26 publicly acknowledged. 17 treated as if they did not exist. Even among the 26, only 9 bank accounts showed confirmed deposits in the documents Yusuf had collected. The others had payment certificates, but no alerts, no statements, and no cash collection records. Mrs. George photographed each page and uploaded encrypted copies to 2 separate storage locations. Then she gave one sealed copy to a second law office. "No more single point of failure," she said. Yusuf nodded. "This is how poor people lose," he said. "One paper, one cupboard, one person who can be frightened." Sade looked at the names. "We changed that." They spent 6 hours interviewing adult household representatives. Not one story was dramatic in the same way. That made them more believable. One man had been told his account number was invalid. He corrected it twice, yet his certificate still showed payment completed. A fish trader had received $420,000, labeled temporary relocation support. But the certificate stated she received PIN at 12. $4 million as full settlement. A mechanic had never opened a bank account. His form listed a bank he had never entered. A widow had signed only for household enumeration. Her signature appeared on a separate waiver, surrendering all future claims. Sade listened. Uzo documented. Mrs. George requested bank statements and identity records with consent. Yusuf corrected dates when memories became mixed. They did not turn pain into performance. They built a record. At sunset, Sade sat on a wooden bench outside the chapel. Yusuf lowered himself beside her. "You are quiet," he said. "I keep thinking about my signature." "It is not your hand. It is my name." "Yes, my parents' name too." "Yes." She looked toward the water. "Maybe I should have noticed earlier. Maybe." She turned to him, surprised by the answer. He shrugged. "You wanted truth, not comfort." Sade let out a breath. "You are right. But noticing late is not the same as refusing to notice." He rested both hands on his walking stick. "Many people see suffering only when it enters their gate. You came before it entered yours." Sade studied him. "Why did you recognize Dare's name that day?" Yusuf's eyes moved to the brass key. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he untied the cord and placed the key in his palm. "In 2006, a young man slept behind the spare parts market near Teju Osho," he said. 18 years old, thin like broomstick, angry with the whole world. Sade listened. His mother had died after a long illness. Rent finished. School stopped. One night, boys tried to steal his bag. He fought them. They cut his lip. "Dare?" Yusuf nodded. "I saw him the next morning beside my workshop. He was pretending not to be hungry." Despite the heaviness, Sade smiled faintly. "That sounds like him." I asked whether he could repair a fan motor. He said yes. Could he? No. Yusuf laughed. "He scattered it completely." Sade laughed too. "What did you do?" "I gave him food and told him he now owed me one fan." He looked toward the old workshop ground. The back store had one mattress. This key opened it. He slept there for 8 months. Sade's eyes returned to the key. Yusuf continued. "I taught him basic compressor work. He learned quickly. Too quickly. If I showed him one thing, the next day he would ask 5 questions. He still does that." A training program opened for refrigeration technicians. Examination fee was 11,750. Dare did not have it. You paid? "I sold an old generator that could no longer carry full load." Did he know? Not then. Yusuf smiled at the memory. He passed. Later, a company sent him to Ghana. Then another job took him farther. We wrote letters for some time. The works shop moved after the fire. I lost one address. He lost another, but he became famous. "Yes, why did you not go to him?" "I went." Sade became still. 3 times. What happened? First time, reception said he was traveling. Second time, security said I needed invitation. Third time, they asked me to leave before clients arrived. "Did you tell them who you were?" "I said I knew him when he was young." That probably sounded like thousands of people. "Yes. Why did you not write?" "I wrote one letter. It came back because the office had moved." "Why not try again?" Yusuf looked at her. "Because I was not looking for a rich man to reward me." Sade lowered her eyes. "When did you decide you needed him?" "I did not need his money. I needed his name removed from Harbor Haven." "Why?" "People in the community were told a powerful investor had approved the project. Some stopped fighting because they believed no court could stand against that kind of money." "So you wanted to warn him." "I wanted him to know what his silence was doing." Sade felt shame rise on behalf of a system she had not designed but had benefited from. "Dare has been looking for you," she said. Yusuf's expression tightened. "Do not tell him yet." "Why?" "Because if this matter becomes a story of billionaire finding old helper, the 43 names will disappear behind it. He would not let that happen. Good men do not control every person holding a camera." Sade knew he was right. "Then when? When the evidence can stand without my history?" She nodded slowly. "I will respect that." Yusuf tied the key around his neck again. "That is your own test, my daughter." What test? Whether you want truth or a powerful story? The answer stung, because a powerful story would have been easier. A poor old man who saved a future billionaire. A grateful groom. A miracle reunion. People would cry. They would share the video. They might never ask where my 873 billion went. Sade looked at the register in her lap. I want the names returned, she said. Yusuf nodded. Then we continue. The full access log arrived 5 days later. Not voluntarily. The technology provider released it after receiving the court preservation order and a formal request from the foundation's external auditors. Uzo examined the data, line by line. March 4th, 11:42 in the morning. Sade's user credentials had been activated from the Executive Administration Office. A privileged override token bypassed the second authentication step. The override belonged to an administrator account assigned to Niyi's chief of staff. That did not prove Niyi personally pressed the key, but it narrowed the room. The same administrator account had approved vendor onboarding for Marula Urban Services and Noble Tide Consulting. The vendor contact numbers traced back to prepaid lines registered through an agent. The registered business addresses led to one shared office and one locked shop. Dare's auditors discovered something else. 2 weeks after compensation funds entered Marula Urban Services, my 286 million moved into a property company, partly owned by a trust controlled by Niyi. Another, by 174 million, paid interest on a loan secured against Harbour Haven. The money had not simply vanished. It had been used to keep the project alive. When Sade saw the report, she sat without speaking. Dare stood across from her in his office. The cobalt jacket lay over a chair. His sleeves were rolled to the elbows. This is enough to report formally, he said. Not enough to say he stole all I won, 873 billion. No, but enough to show conflict, false representation, and diversion of at least part of the funds. Yes. Sade looked at the transaction map. My uncle used community compensation to service project debt. That is what the evidence suggests. He told me he saved the foundation. Dare came around the desk. Maybe he began by telling himself he was saving something, and ended by stealing from people who had less than him. People rarely announce to themselves that they are becoming villains. Sade looked at him. They call it survival, or duty, or temporary borrowing, or protecting jobs. She remembered the lunch. 27 employees, families suffering, consequences. Niyi had already built his defense inside his own mind. Dare sat beside her. I have formally withdrawn Adebayo cold chain from Harbour Haven. Publicly? Not yet. The letter went to the foundation, lenders and regulators. We will announce after they acknowledge receipt. Why wait? Because if they think they have a few hours, they may move records. The preservation order limits that, but people still try. Sade nodded. What about the wedding? Dare looked at her. What about it? My uncle will turn it into a battlefield. He already has. Should we postpone? Do you want to? She thought carefully. No, neither do I. People will say we continued for image. People say many things when they do not pay for the decision. Sade looked at the ring on her hand. I do not want our vows beside a project announcement. They will not be. You sound sure. I am Dare opened a folder and removed a draft program sent by Ronka's wedding team. After the blessing and photographs, it listed Special, Community, Commitment, Harbour Haven Future. Sade stared at it. I never approved this. Neither did I. He placed another page beside it. A prepared statement carried Dare's name beneath language praising William's development for successfully completing community transition and compensation. This is false, Sade said. Yes. He planned to make you read it, or use photographs to imply I did. What will you do? Dare's expression became very still. "I will attend my wedding, and after, I will tell the truth." The demolition team arrived before sunrise 3 days later. At 5:48, residents at Iwaya East woke to the sound of diesel engines. 2 excavators stopped near the main path. A truck carried metal barricades. Men in reflective vests began marking a clearance boundary. The notice fixed to one pole stated that preliminary site clearing would begin at 8. The official project schedule still showed another 17 days. Yusuf received the call first. He called Sade. She called Mrs. George. Mrs. George had anticipated the possibility. The previous evening, after receiving evidence of accelerated site activity, she had obtained an interim court order, preserving the status of occupied structures pending a hearing. The stamped copy was collected at 6:20. Sade reached Iwaya at 7:11 in an orange suit, cream blouse, and flat shoes. No convoy, no screaming. Mrs. George arrived with 2 court bailiffs and copies of the order. Police officers at the site examined the document. The contractor's supervisor protested. "We have clearance from the authority. Then show a later order overriding this one," Mrs. George replied. He could not. A machine operator kept the excavator running. Sade did not stand in front of it. She walked to the police commander and pointed to the exact paragraph restraining alteration of occupied structures. "The order names this parcel and these coordinates," she said. "Continuing after service creates personal exposure for anyone directing the work." The commander read it again. Then he ordered the engines switched off. One by one, they died. The sudden silence felt enormous. Residents did not cheer immediately. They waited. Poor people learn not to celebrate before machinery leaves. The supervisor made 3 calls. The trucks remained for another hour. Then they reversed out. Only after the last excavator disappeared did somebody begin to clap. The applause spread, not wild, not victorious. Relieved. Temporary relief was still relief. Yusuf stood beside Sade. "You came with paper," he said. "What did you expect?" "Some people come with camera first." "There are cameras." Local reporters had arrived after residents posted videos. Sade looked toward them. "But the order came before them." Yusuf nodded. "That is the difference." At 9:30, Ronke posted a statement accusing Sade of obstructing lawful development and risking hundreds of jobs. At 10:15, Chief Niyi held a press briefing. He described the dispute as a family matter exploited by professional agitators. He did not mention the court order. He did not mention the false signature. He did not mention the missing payments. By noon, however, the video of the engines shutting down had spread farther than his statement. People began asking why a project that claimed all residents had relocated still needed excavators to remove occupied homes. The question was simple. Niyi had no simple answer. That evening, the Foundation's main lender suspended further release of project funds pending review. Chief Niyi received the notice at 6:03. He read it standing in his private study. Then he swept a glass decanter from the table. It struck the wall and broke. Ronke stood in the doorway. For once, she did not laugh. "What do we do?" she asked. Niyi looked at the wedding invitation resting on his desk. Embossed gold letters. Sade Williams and Dare Adebayo. 32nd day of August. 2:17 in the afternoon. "We make sure the wedding happens," he said. "And the announcement?" "Especially the announcement." Ronke swallowed. "What about Yusuf?" Niyi picked up the invitation. "He will not cross the gate." 4 days before the wedding, Sade told Dare everything about Yusuf. They were inside her studio after midnight. Fabric samples, housing drawings, and legal files covered the same long table. Her wedding veil hung beside a map of Iwaya East. Beauty and conflict had been forced into one room. Dare stood by the window, while Sade's the brass key photograph before him. She had taken it with Yusuf's permission that afternoon. Dare did not touch the photograph. For several seconds he did not move at all. "Where did he get this?" he asked. "It belongs to him." "No." His voice cracked. "That key belonged to the back store at Bellow Mechanical Yard." Sade watched him. "He said you slept there for 8 months." Dare turned slowly. The controlled billionaire was gone. In his place stood the hungry 18-year-old Yusuf had described. "Where is he?" "At the shelter. Take me there." "He asked me not to tell you until the evidence could stand without his history." Dare stared at her. "You knew?" "For 9 days. And you did not tell me?" He did not want 43 families reduced to a reunion story. Dare looked again at the photograph. His eyes filled, though no tears fell. "That sounds like him." Sade stepped closer. "Are you angry?" "Yes." "With me?" With every door he reached that did not open. He picked up the photograph carefully. "I searched for him for years. I hired people to check old market records. The workshop registration had been cancelled. The address was cleared. One report said he might have relocated to Quara. He came to your office 3 times. Dare closed his eyes. Sade continued softly. "Your reception turned him away." He placed both hands on the table. For a moment, his head hung between his shoulders. "I built a company large enough to move medicine across borders," he said. "And one old man could not move past my lobby. You did not know. That is not enough. You cannot personally receive every visitor." "No. But I designed the system that decided a man in torn clothes had nothing important to say." He straightened. "Take me to him." They drove to the shelter at 1:12 in the morning. The gate was locked. A notice had been pasted outside. "Temporary closure. In structural review." Sade called the manager. The woman answered sleepily and explained that a crack had appeared in the rear wall after heavy rain. Residents had been distributed between 2 other shelters and a church hall. "Where is Pa Yusuf?" Sade asked. "He left before transport came." "Left? For where?" "He said he did not want anybody using his location to trouble the others." "Did he take a phone?" No. Dare stood beneath the streetlight, holding the photograph. His security team checked the church hall, the mechanic yard, and the legal aid office. Yusuf was at none of them. Sade called Reverend Peter. No answer. By dawn, Dare had sent community liaison officers to every location connected to Yusuf. He gave one instruction. No uniforms, no forcing anybody. Ask, listen, leave a number. They found traces. Yusuf had slept one night near a mosque courtyard. He had visited the clinic for wound dressing. He had collected a sealed photocopy of the register from the chapel. Then he disappeared into Lagos. The city had swallowed people with less reason. Wedding preparations continued around the search. The Marula glass pavilion was transformed with ivory drapes, turquoise flowers, and coral orange roses. A curved platform faced rows of gold-framed chairs. Ronke ordered a 12-meter screen for family photographs and sponsor messages. She also controlled the guest list. Sade sent one final addition from her private email. Pay Yusuf Bello. Special get. Front action. Marcus Daniels, head of venue security, received the update at 9:42 the evening before the wedding. Ronke called him 16 minutes later. "Remove Yusuf Bello from the list," she said. Miss Sade added him. "Bride's family has final control of access." Mr. Adebayo's office said joint approval. Ronke's tone hardened. "Mr. Daniels, your company wants future contracts from Williams Development?" Marcus paused. "We want to perform this contract professionally, then remove the name." She ended the call. Marcus stared at the guest system. He had worked security for 19 years. He knew the difference between protecting people and protecting embarrassment. He did not delete the original email, he printed it. Then, he saved the access instruction from Ronke. At 6 the next morning, Yusuf woke on a wooden pew inside the old chapel. He had returned after midnight. Reverend Peter found him sitting with the black notebook copy in his lap. "You cannot walk into that wedding alone," the Reverend said. "They will not hear me if I remain here. They may arrest you again. Then the arrest will happen where cameras can see why. Pa Yusuf." Yusuf looked up. "The project statement is today. Once Dare's name enters public record beside that lie, banks will use it. Residents will lose courage. I must reach him before he speaks. Call Sade. The number on her card no longer connects. Her private office line had been suspended with her foundation access. Call the company. I have tried entering that place before." The Reverend sat beside him. "You are not strong. I am strong enough to say one word." "What word?" Yusuf closed the notebook. "Stop." He washed in the chapel bathroom. Reverend Peter gave him a clean inner shirt. The faded kaftan remained because Yusuf refused to borrow ceremonial clothing. "I will not dress like a rich man before rich people agree I am human," he said. He polished his repaired sandals with a small cloth. Then he tied the brass key around his neck. The journey to Lekki took 2 buses and 1 shared taxi. Traffic stopped near the toll corridor. Yusuf got down and walked the final 1.6 kilometers beneath the noon sun. Each step pulled at his healing foot. By the time he reached the Marula glass pavilion, sweat darkened the back of his kaftan. Luxury vehicles moved through the security lane. Drivers lowered tinted windows. Guests presented digital invitations from polished phones. Yusuf approached the pedestrian gate. The scanner attendant looked at him. "Deliveries are behind." "I am a guest." The attendant laughed. "Guest for which event?" "The wedding." "Invitation?" "My name is Pa Yusuf Bello." The attendant checked the system. No result. "Not listed. Miss Sade added me. Everybody says they know bride. I need to speak with Mr. Dare before the ceremony." The attendant waved to another guard. "Baba, do not create scene." Yusuf held up the notebook. "This concerns Harbor Haven." The second guard stepped closer. "Move away from gate." Inside the security office, Marcus heard the name through the radio. He opened the printed email. P. Yusuf Bello. Special guest. He left the office and walked to the gate. Ronke arrived at the same moment in a bright purple dress and fuchsia jewel, surrounded by 2 assistants. She saw Yusuf. Her face changed. "How did he find this place?" Yusuf looked at her. "Your invitation is on every billboard." Ronke turned to Marcus. "This man is barred." Marcus held the printout at his side. Miss Sade invited him. "I removed him after she added him." Ronke stepped closer. "You are security, not family mediator." "No, Ma." "Then remove him." Marcus looked at Yusuf's swollen foot. He looked at the notebook. Then at the email bearing Sade's instruction. "Sir," he said to Yusuf, "you may enter the waiting area while I confirm with the bride." Ronke's eyes widened. "Excuse me?" Marcus faced her. "I cannot physically remove an invited guest without confirming the conflicting instruction. You will lose this contract." "Maybe." The word surprised even him. Ronke's cheeks tightened. "Keep him away from the hall." She turned sharply and walked inside. Marcus led Yusuf through a side corridor. "Wait here," he said. "I will contact Miss Sade. Please contact Mr. Dare also." "I will try." Marcus left. 2 minutes later, Ronke called the internal security supervisor and ordered Yusuf taken out through the service entrance. By then, the ceremony had begun. Sade stood behind closed doors in an ivory gown embroidered with turquoise thread. Coral orange flowers rested in her hands. She was not calm, but she was certain. Chief Niyi entered the bridal room. His emerald agbada filled the doorway. It is time, he said. Sade looked at him through the mirror. You will not walk me down the aisle. Nee stopped. What did you say? I will walk alone. Do not disgrace me. This is not about you. I stood as your father for 12 years. You also used my signature to approve payments I never authorized. His face hardened. You have no proof I did that. I have enough proof to refuse your arm. Nee lowered his voice. After everything I gave you? Sade turned from the mirror. You keep calling control a gift. I protected you. You protected your access to what my parents left. His nostrils flared. Walk alone, then. Let the world see how familyless you have made yourself. He left. Sade closed her eyes. The words hurt. That did not make them true. Outside, music rose. The doors opened. Sade walked down the aisle by herself. Whispers moved through the guests. Dare waited in cobalt blue at the front. When he saw her alone, he understood. He did not look toward Nee. He looked only at her. Sade reached him. You came, he whispered. So did you. I was searching until 20 minutes ago. For Yusuf? Dare nodded. No success. Sade's eyes flickered. After the vows, we make the announcement. Our announcement, he said. Not theirs. The ceremony continued. At the side corridor, Yusuf heard the music through the walls. The security supervisor arrived with 2 guards. You have to leave. Mr. Marcus said I should wait. Instruction has changed. I need 5 minutes. You people always need 5 minutes until camera comes. One guard took Yusuf's arm. He pulled free. Do not touch my left side. The supervisor reached for the notebook. Yusuf stepped back. The service door stood behind him. The wedding hall entrance stood 20 meters ahead. He heard the officiant's voice. If any person present knows of a lawful reason these two should not enter this marriage, speak now. Yusuf understood the question was ceremonial. His reason was not against the marriage. But the moment was closing. The project statement waited beside the altar. Ronk appeared at the far end of the corridor. Get him out, she shouted. The guards seized Yusuf. His walking stick hit the floor. The notebook pressed against his chest. He looked toward the closed hall doors. Then he found the strength he had carried through rain, arrest, hunger, and insult. Stop! His voice tore through the pavilion. The doors had not fully closed. The word entered the hall. 317 guests turned at once. Yusuf pulled free and stepped into the aisle. His faded brown kaftan looked like a wound against the white carpet. Ronke rushed after him. Remove that filthy beggar, she screamed. Before he stains this wedding with his roadside madness. 2 guards seized him again. The notebook fell. Pages scattered across the spotless floor. Chief Niyi rose from the front row. This man is a criminal, he shouted. Drag him outside. Yusuf looked past him, straight at Dare. Dare, he said, his broken voice filling the hall. Will you marry today while 43 stolen homes are buried beneath your celebration? A champagne glass slipped from someone's hand. It shattered. Nobody laughed now. Dare stared at the small brass key hanging from Yusuf's neck. His face changed. The years between 18 and 38 collapsed in one breath. He saw a narrow back room with oil-stained walls, a thin mattress, a bowl of rice pushed toward him by a mechanic who pretended the food was too much for one man. He saw hands guiding his fingers around a compressor valve. He heard the same rough voice saying, "A debt is not paid by money. It is paid by the person you become." Dare left the altar. He walked past the scattered pages, past his uncle by marriage, past Ronke, whose mouth remained open. Then he knelt before the man everyone had called a beggar, Baba Yusuf. The words were barely louder than breath. Yusuf's face trembled. For 1 second, he was not an activist, a complainant, or a homeless man carrying stolen names. He was a mechanic seeing the hungry boy from his back room alive before him. Dare, he whispered. Dare reached for his hands. They told me you had left Lagos. I tried to find you. I know now? No. You do not know everything. Tears entered Dare's eyes. I know enough to kneel. Yusuf tightened his grip. Then he pulled. Stand up. Dare remained where he was. Baba, a good man can kneel in gratitude, Yusuf said. But he must stand in justice. The microphone near the officiant carried every word across the hall. Dare rose. Yusuf turned toward the guests. I did not come to stop these two people from marrying, he said. I came to stop a stolen blessing from entering their marriage. Chief Niyi pushed into the aisle. This performance has gone far enough. Dare turned. No one touches him. The security guards released Yusuf immediately. Ronke pointed at the scattered papers. He is a blackmailer. We have video evidence. Marcus stepped through the side entrance. No, Ma, he said. Every head turned again. Marcus held a tablet in one hand and a printed email in the other. Ronke's voice became sharp. What are you doing? My job. You allowed him inside after I barred him. Miss Sade invited him first. He raised the printed email. The original guest instruction is time-stamped 9:42 last night. Your deletion order came 16 minutes later. Ronke's face burned. That is an internal security matter. Then let us discuss the other internal matter. Marcus connected the tablet to the hall screen. The wedding slideshow disappeared. A restaurant video appeared. Ronke moved toward the control table. Turn that off. Dare raised one hand. Play it. Marcus pressed the screen. The full recording began. The unknown man's voice asked Yusuf what would make him stop disturbing Sade. Yusuf answered clearly, I do not want your private money. Pay every family what the document says. Then came the question about his own compensation. 18,700,000. So that is what you want. That is what your paper claims I received. If it enters your account today, will you stop? No. The hall listened as Yusuf pushed the envelope away. I will not take private money to abandon other people. The recording ended. A frozen silence followed. Ronke looked around as though she could find an exit hidden among the guests. Sade stepped forward. You released only the middle of that conversation, she said. Ronke lifted her chin. I did not release anything. Marcus opened a second file. A message thread appeared on the screen between Ronke's media contractor and one of the anonymous entertainment pages. Send the Ort cut. Use Beggar Dimmons Piratin, 7M. Do not show the envelope refusal. Ronke's own number sat above the messages. She stopped breathing for one visible second. This is private communication, she said. No, Sade replied. This is evidence of a lie you made public. Chief Niyi pointed at Marcus. You will switch off that screen immediately. Marcus did not move. Niyi turned to the technical crew. Cut the live stream. The lead technician hesitated. Ronke rushed to the console and pulled one cable. The main screen flickered. The live stream indicator remained red. You cannot erase what has already gone out, Marcus said. Phones across the hall were still recording. Thousands of viewers had joined the stream after the shout. The machine built to display wealth was now preserving truth. Chief Niyi bent quickly and gathered Yusuf's scattered pages. These are fabricated, he said. He tore one sheet in half. The sound of paper ripping traveled through the microphones. Mrs. George rose from the third row. Chief Balagan, she said. That document is subject to an active preservation proceeding. Niyi stared at her. What are you doing at my family wedding? I was invited by the bride. He looked at Sade. She met his eyes. I invited people who could recognize the truth, she said. Uzo stood beside Mrs. George. She carried a sealed folder and a flash drive. Niyi's expression shifted. After everything this family did for you, he said to her, You come here to destroy us? Uzo walked into the aisle. You fired me and accused me of deleting the records I reported. You were incompetent. Then why does the server log confirm my report? A murmur moved through the guests. Dare looked toward his chief investment officer, who stood near the front. Display the audit summary. The large screen changed again. A simple timeline appeared. Not dramatic graphics. Dates. Accounts. Amounts. Uzo spoke into the microphone. On March 4th at 11:42 in the morning, Miss Sade Williams' electronic credentials approved community compensation transfers. Ronke folded her arms. She delegated authority. Sade opened her phone and projected a photograph. It showed her on stage in Kigali beneath a conference banner, displaying the same date and time. The transaction came from an office device in Lagos. Uzo continued. A privileged administrator override bypassed the second authentication step. Who owned the override? Dare asked. The account was assigned to Chief Ni's chief of staff. Ni laughed. So now a staff account makes me a thief? No, Uzo said. That fact alone does not. The honesty weakened his attempt to dismiss her. She changed the slide. 11 transfers totaling flees 1. 873 billion left the compensation account. The stated beneficiaries were 3 vendors: Marula Urban Services, Nobletide Consulting and Green Axis Relocation Partners. Another slide appeared. 2 vendors share a registered office. One has no verifiable operating staff. Green Axis claimed temporary accommodation for 112 people, but produced no matching hotel invoice, lease, or subcontract. Chief Niyi's lawyer moved toward him and whispered. Niyi pushed him away. This is an ambush, he said. Sade stepped closer. No, an ambush is using my wedding to make Dare endorse a project he rejected. She lifted the prepared community statement from the table beside the altar. The paper carried Dare's name beneath praise for completed compensation. Dare faced the guests. I did not write this. I did not approve it. My company formally withdrew from Harbor Haven 4 days ago. The hall erupted in whispers. Several bankers in the audience looked at one another. Chief Niyi's face lost color. You cannot announce that here, he said. Dare's voice remained level. You plan to announce the opposite here. Niyi moved toward him. This project employs hundreds. It has not begun full construction. It will transform that waterfront by erasing the people already there. They are illegal occupants. Yusuf bent slowly and picked up one remaining page. He handed it to Sade. She displayed the community cooperative deed, meter records, and household register. Some households have contested title, she said. Some hold occupancy interests through the cooperative. Others require lawful resettlement even where ownership is disputed. None of that permits false payment certificates, Mrs. George added. Property disputes are resolved through records and due process. Poverty does not cancel standing. Uzo changed the slide again. A flow diagram showed money moving from Marula Urban Services into a property company connected to Niyi's trust. NAD 286 million was transferred into Balagan Harbor assets 12 days after compensation funds entered Marula Urban Services, she said. A further 174 million service debt secured against the same project. Niyi lifted both hands. Intercompany financing is not theft. No, Uzo said. But using restricted compensation funds for undisclosed project debt may be diversion. That is for investigators and the court to determine. Again, she refused to exaggerate. Again, the truth grew stronger. Dare looked at Yusuf. Baba, did you receive 7 million? No. Did anyone offer you money to withdraw your complaint? Yes. Did you accept it? No. Why? Yusuf looked around the hall. Because my hunger is not larger than 42 other homes. A woman in the second row lowered her phone. Another guest covered her mouth. The same people who had shifted away from Yusuf's clothes now leaned forward to hear him. Yusuf noticed. "Do not respect me because a billionaire knows my name," he said. "Respect me because I had a name before he recognized me." The words landed harder than any shout. Chief Ni's lawyer whispered again. This time Ni listened. He reached for Sade's arm. "We are leaving." She pulled free. "No, I am still your elder, and I am still an adult. Do not disgrace your parents." Sade's voice shook, but it did not break. "My parents created a foundation to protect people from exactly this kind of abuse. I kept that foundation alive. You kept yourself in control. I paid your fees. I fed you. I stood as your father. You never allowed me to forget the cost." Ni's face twisted. "After all I gave you, this is how you repay me." Sade removed his hand from her arm again. "I am not land, company shares, or property for any man to transfer. You do not own my voice because you helped raise me." The hall went still, she continued. "You will not walk me anywhere. You will not speak for my parents' foundation, and you will not use my marriage to wash stolen records." Ni looked toward Dare. "You will allow your wife to insult her elder before the world?" Dare stood beside Sade. "I will allow my wife to speak for herself." That answer ended something. Not the wedding, the old order. Ronki moved toward the side door. Marcus stepped into her path. "You cannot detain me," she said. "I am not detaining you. Then move. You may leave. The original media devices and venue server must remain. Those belong to my team. They contain records connected to a formal allegation and an active live stream. Deleting them now may create further problems." Ronki looked at the crowd. Her purple dress, chosen to dominate photographs, now made her impossible to hide. "Daddy," she said. Chief Niyi did not answer. He was staring at the screen where the money flow remained frozen. For the first time, he looked old, not humble, only exposed. Mrs. George made 2 calls. One to the Financial Investigation Office, already reviewing the preservation materials. Another to the court officer handling the civil case. No police rushed from behind curtains. No handcuffs appeared because a microphone demanded them. Instead, evidence was copied. Devices were listed. Witnesses gave names and phone numbers. The torn paper was placed in a clear folder. Ni's lawyer advised him not to touch anything else. The process had begun. Processes were slower than revenge. They were also harder to dismiss. The officiant stood beside the altar, unsure whether to remain or leave. Guests whispered. The wedding music had stopped. Flowers still glowed beneath the glass roof. Sade looked at Dare. "We need to talk," he nodded. They entered a small room behind the hall. For 37 minutes, the guests waited. Inside, Sade removed her veil and placed it on a chair. Her hands were shaking. Dare poured water for her. "Do you want to stop?" he asked. "The wedding?" "Yes." She drank. "Do you?" "No." "Are you continuing because people are watching?" "No." "Because of Yusuf?" "No." "Then why?" Dare sat across from her. "Because when your family placed truth on one side and comfort on the other, you chose truth before you knew whether I would remain." Sade looked down. "I was afraid you would not." "I was afraid too." "You?" "I was afraid you would decide every delay in evidence meant betrayal." She met his eyes. "I nearly did." "I know. Does that trouble you?" "It teaches me where we must become better." Sade let out a slow breath. "Today will follow us forever." "Yes. People will reduce it to the moment you knelt. Then we spend the rest of our lives showing them what happened after I stood." Her eyes filled. Dare reached across the table. "Do you still choose me?" he asked. Sade placed her hand in his. "Yes. Then let us finish what belongs to us." They returned to the hall. Sade did not put the veil back on. Dare did not return to the original platform. They stood on the floor, level with their guests. Yusuf sat in the front row, the black notebook on his lap. Before continuing, Sade faced the audience. "There will be no Harbor Haven endorsement today," she said. "There will be no investor announcement. There will be no attempt to use this marriage as proof of a business agreement." Dare took the microphone. "The 9-minute fireworks display has been cancelled. The private investor dinner has been cancelled. All recoverable funds from those items will be placed into an independently administered account for legal support and temporary housing connected to the Iwaya dispute." Chief Nee laughed bitterly from his seat. "You think charity will make this clean?" Yusuf answered before Dare could. "Not charity, accountability." Dare nodded. "The account will not settle ownership claims or replace compensation. It will only prevent families from becoming homeless while lawful review continues." The distinction mattered. No one was buying silence. They were preserving people's ability to remain present in the fight. The officiant returned to the front. Sade and Dare faced each other. There was no dramatic choir, no music at first. Only breath. Dare spoke his vows without reading. "I will not promise you a life without conflict," he said. "I promise that when truth becomes inconvenient, I will not leave you standing beside it alone." Sade's lips trembled. Then she answered, "I will not ask love to make me blind. I will ask it to make me brave enough to see clearly, speak honestly, and return when pride pushes me away." They exchanged rings. When they were declared married, the applause began softly, then grew. Yusuf did not stand because his foot hurt. Dare noticed. He walked to him after the blessing. This time, he did not kneel. He stood beside him. Yusuf looked up. "Better," he said. Dare laughed through tears. "Still correcting me after 20 years? Until you learn. I have been looking for you. I know now. Come home with me." Yusuf's expression changed. Dare continued quickly. "Not as charity. Not for cameras. My son, your house is not my life. Then tell me what you need. I need the 43 names protected. They will be. I need my wound treated. It will be. I need work when I am strong." Dare nodded. "And after that?" Yusuf looked toward the torn community statement on the floor. "After that, we see whether the person you became can pay the debt." 7 months later, the Marula glass pavilion had become only a memory. But the investigation it exposed had not disappeared with the flowers. It moved through offices, courtrooms, bank compliance departments, interview rooms where expensive clothing carried less power than a transaction reference. The financial investigation found that Chief Niyi had approved the creation of 2 vendor relationships through his chief of staff. Emails recovered from archived backups showed him directing finance officers to temporarily bridge Harbor Haven debt from the community compensation account. The word temporarily appeared 9 times. The money did not return. Investigators also found draft board minutes prepared before the meetings they supposedly recorded. Sade's electronic signature had been attached through an administrator override. 2 finance officers admitted they had been told the payments were urgent and would be corrected after Dare's investment entered. The investment never entered. The correction never came. Chief Niyi was charged with offenses connected to false documentation, diversion of restricted funds, and misleading financial representations. The criminal matter remained before the court. No one declared him guilty before judgment. But the civil evidence was enough for immediate consequences. He lost control of Williams Community Foundation. He was removed from the boards of the 3 project companies. Assets linked to Harbor Haven were frozen, while the disputed funds were traced. 2 commercial buildings were placed under a court-supervised recovery arrangement. The lender cancelled the remaining facility. Harbor Haven, as Nee designed it, ended. He did not become poor overnight. Justice was not a magic wind that carried every car and house away, but he lost the power to use other people's names as invisible money. That loss wounded him more deeply than any public insult. Ronke faced a different account. The original restaurant footage and message records established that she had knowingly distributed an edited clip. Yusuf filed a civil claim for defamation. Several community representatives joined a separate complaint concerning harassment and intimidation. Ronke's lawyers advised settlement. The final agreement required her to publish a correction through every media page she had paid to spread the false clip. She had to state, in plain language, that Yusuf rejected private payment and demanded lawful compensation for all affected households. She also paid damages into an independently administered fund. Yusuf refused to take the full amount personally. Part covered his legal expenses and treatment. The rest supported identity document replacement and claims processing for displaced residents. The court approved the arrangement because it served those directly harmed by the campaign. Ronke was also required to complete 360 hours of supervised service at the new Compensation Records Center. On her first morning, she arrived in dark glasses and a fitted cobalt dress. No cameras waited. No assistant carried her bag. An administrator placed a scanner before her and showed her a stack of damp household documents. Separate names, identity numbers, bank details, and property records, the woman said. Do not throw away any page because it looks dirty. Ronke's hand paused above the first file. The paper smelled of mold. Once she would have moved away. Now she put on gloves and began. During her third week, an elderly fish trader arrived to correct an account number. Ronke asked her to sit and wait. The woman's wrapper was wet from rain. Other visitors complained about the smell. Ronke looked at the empty chair beside her desk. Then she remembered Yusuf outside the glass building. She brought the chair herself. It was not redemption. One chair could not erase a campaign of humiliation. But accountability had forced her to practice the respect she once considered beneath her. That was where change had to begin. The 43 households entered a court-supervised resolution process. Independent surveyors mapped every structure and reviewed the cooperative's title chain. Lawyers separated ownership claims from occupancy and livelihood claims. Bank records were matched against every payment certificate. The results were messy. Real life usually was. 3 claims contained duplicate occupants. 2 structures had been transferred informally without updated records. 1 household had received partial payment through a relative, but had not been told what it represented. Those problems were corrected openly. They were not used as excuses to erase everyone else. Each verified household received a choice. Some accepted revised compensation based on independent valuation. Others chose replacement apartments in a completed development within reasonable traveling distance of their work. 7 households elected to return under a redesigned waterfront plan with secure occupancy rights, drainage, sanitation, and protected workshop space. Nobody became a millionaire because a billionaire knelt. People received what law, evidence, and dignity said they should have received from the beginning. Sade rebuilt the foundation her parents had started. She did not simply take her uncle's chair. She changed the chair itself. The new board included an independent accountant, a housing lawyer, an urban planner, and 2 elected community representatives. No family member could approve a related party transaction without public disclosure and independent review. Every major payment required 2-factor authentication that could not be bypassed by one administrator account. System logs were copied automatically to an external auditor. Beneficiaries could check payment status through a public portal or receive printed confirmation from a staffed help desk. Sade named the program Open Ledger Housing Clinic. Every Wednesday, adults came with land receipts, pension forms, tenancy agreements, and compensation certificates. Staff helped them understand what the documents said before asking them to sign. A framed sentence hung behind the reception desk. A diamond should record a human life. It should never be used to arrest one. The same guard who had once dragged Yusuf from the entrance remained at the foundation after retraining. On his first day under the new policy, a man in torn slippers arrived with a plastic bag of receipts. The guard opened the door. "Good morning, sir. Hope no problem." The man looked behind him, uncertain the greeting was meant for him. The guard pointed toward the help desk. "They will give you a case number inside." Sade saw the exchange from the upper floor. She did not call anyone to praise him. Respect was not a performance deserving applause each time. It was the minimum. Dare returned to Adebayo Cold Chain and ordered an internal review of visitor access, community complaints, and supplier grievances. The findings embarrassed him. In 3 years, reception staff had turned away 68 people who came without appointments to report wage disputes, damaged roadside property, or unpaid small vendor invoices. Only 9 complaints had later entered the official system. Yusuf was one of the 59 who disappeared outside the gate. Dare read every case summary. Then he changed the process. Every visitor raising a complaint received a reference number, whether or not the person had an appointment. Security officers were forbidden from deciding the value of a complaint based on clothing, accent, or job. A disability access desk was created. Community liaison staff reviewed unresolved grievances each week. Dare addressed his senior managers directly. "Do not tell me we respect people because I donate money," he said. "A company's character is seen at the door where nobody expects the owner to be watching." No one argued. They all remembered the wedding. Yusuf spent 6 weeks receiving treatment and physiotherapy. Dare again offered him a suite in his home. Yusuf again refused. "My son, I did not survive all these years to become decoration inside your mansion." "You will not be decoration." "What will I do there?" "Rest. For how long? As long as you need. That is how old men become furniture." Dare laughed. Sade found the compromise. A small, accessible apartment became available near Yaba. It had a ground-floor entrance, a bathroom fitted with support rails, and enough space for Yusuf to keep tools. The tenancy was placed in his name, not Dare's, not the foundation's, his. Yusuf accepted after reviewing every page with Mrs. George. "I have learned not to sign because somebody smiling says, 'It is fine,'" he told Dare. "You taught me that too late. I taught you compressors. Life taught you documents." Adebayo Cold Chain owned an unused maintenance yard nearby. Dare proposed converting it into an adult vocational center for people rebuilding their lives after displacement, unemployment, or illness. Yusuf rejected the first plan. "Too many computers," he said. "It is a modern training center. A person cannot repair compressor with PowerPoint." The architects revised it. They added workbenches, ventilation, tool storage, moms, business training rooms. Students learned refrigeration repair, generator maintenance, basic electrical safety, bookkeeping, and customer records. The center was named Bello Trade Yard. Yusuf accepted a paid role as workshop supervisor. He refused any ceremonial title. "No chairman," he said. "Chairman sits too much." On the opening day, Dare wore a simple white shirt. Sade wore burnt orange with a light turquoise scarf. Yusuf wore a new ochre kaftan and the same brass key around his neck. There was no giant check, no staged handing over of a house. The first class contained 24 adult trainees. Some had previous skills but no certificates. Some had lost tools during displacement. Others had worked as casual laborers without a path forward. Yusuf stood before them with a compressor unit on the table. "First lesson," he said. "Never pretend you understand a machine because you are ashamed to ask." Dare smiled from the doorway. He remembered destroying Yusuf's fan motor 20 years earlier. One trainee noticed him. "Sir," the man asked Yusuf, "is it true this billionaire knelt before you?" The room became quiet. Yusuf looked at Dare. Dare folded his arms and waited. "Yes," Yusuf said. "Why? Because memory caught him in public." The trainees laughed. The man asked again. "But why did he respect you like that when you were poor?" Yusuf's expression changed. "He did not kneel because I was poor," he said. "He knelt because he remembered that before money gave him a name, somebody had treated him like a human being." He walked to the whiteboard and wrote one word: dignity. Then he turned back. "Do not wait until a rich man recognizes a person before you respect that person. Hunger does not remove dignity. Dirty clothes do not remove dignity. Homelessness does not remove dignity. Even a wrong document cannot remove it. It can only hide it until somebody is brave enough to read properly." No one moved. Yusuf pointed to the compressor. "Now, who wants to learn before I become too emotional and start preaching?" Hands rose, the room filled with laughter. Dare entered and stood beside him. Not above him, not kneeling before him. Beside him. "From my own point of view, the most dangerous poverty in this account was not the absence of money. It was the absence of respect. A person may lose a home, a job, good health, or even the documents that prove where they belong. But none of those things cancels human dignity. What matters is not only whether we feel sympathy when suffering becomes dramatic. What matters is whether the systems we control still recognize a human being when that person has no fine clothes, no appointment, and no powerful name to open the door."